everybody, and welcome back to Week 5 AAF Pick'em and Wrap-Up Show. I am Buddy Strange, this is StrangeVoodooTV, and hopefully you guys are doing pretty good today. So let's just get into it. First off, the win of the week is going to be, thank you very much, the Memphis Express. I know it could have been Atlanta. They had a very good win. I'm very excited, and even though, I tend to shit on them week in and week out, I'm glad they got themselves a win. Glad they're doing, somewhat better. Definitely a lot better since they won than previous weeks. I'm rooting for everyone in the AAF to do well because I want the AAF to succeed, and that's one of the ways you do it. But anyway, the Memphis Express got a solid comeback win over a pretty good team in San Diego, and it's the only game I called right this week. Spoiler alert. It's the only game I called right this week, which is fine with me. I love to be able to call the upset victory and the first win of Memphis in history. Anyway, they did it with a dominating defense. Their offense didn't do outstanding, but it did enough to win, and that's all you need to do. It looked like a way more efficient, better offense than Hackenberg ran with Mettenberger in there. He didn't have outstanding stats, but he got the job done, and that's all that matters. And then the defense was able to do the rest, and that special teams with newly signed kicker Austin McGinnis. Oh man, I see a McGinnis, and I might see a little later too. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Anyway, good job, Memphis Express. My Memphis Express. All right, that's awesome. Okay, loss of the week is going to be Arizona Hotshots losing to the Atlanta Legends. The Hotshots just looked out of sync. I gotta give props to Atlanta's defense. They stepped up. They did really well. That was probably their strong point of this season to this point, and they really stepped up in this one. But I also think Arizona's offense just looked out of sync, out of whack. Wolford, whether it was his injury or whatever, didn't look like the quarterback we were seeing, and that line didn't help out for him. It just they couldn't get anything going on offense, as indicated by that score. Atlanta took advantage of it. They also took advantage of Matt Sims getting knocked out of the game, and Aaron Murray coming in, who added a whole different dimension because he can get it done with his legs as well as his arm. To me, he was a better quarterback anyway. Glad he's got his shot. Sorry, Matt Sims. But yeah, Aaron Murray did look like the better quarterback after we got to see him in there, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's in this next week. Actually, I would 95% positive that he gets in there. Anyway, yeah, Arizona Hotshots. Oof. Loss of the week. Alright, next up, SVTV's Players of the Week. We've got Offensive Player of the Week, Kenneth Farrow. There wasn't really any outstanding offensive players. He didn't even get a touchdown, but he did get 142 yards on 30 carries and got a 4.7 average, or whatever that averages out to be. You'll see it on the sidebar there. But yeah, no one was just extremely outstanding this week on offense, but he was a big reason why the Commanders were able to give the Iron their first loss, which you could also said win of the week, loss of the week for one of them, but nah, had to give it to who? I give it to Memphis and the Hotshots. But Kenneth Farrow, very good job running the ball, definitely deserving this week of Offensive Player of the Week. All right, Defensive Player of the Week. Oh my lord, there were so many defenders deserving of this award this week. We had to give it to Drew Jackson, be it biased, be it just an extremely good performance, be it both. Anyway, 13 tackles, an interception, I think a forced fumble, a sack, 4 tackles for loss. It was just, oh my God. That guy was all over the field, making sure Philip Nelson, Alex Ross, Rashard Ross, Gardner, who did not do anything. Our offensive player last week who rushed for, at that time, the most yards in AAF history, and he had an 83-yard run that you saw in the highlights. No, not this week. He rushed for like 4 yards or something. And guess what? That's big in part by Drew Jackson, ex-NFL player Drew Jackson, Andrew Jackson, drafted by the Colts or whatever, and then bounced around and didn't do much. Yeah, that Drew Jackson. He is on the Memphis Express, and he's doing himself God's work. No, he's doing a good job. And that's why he's Defensive Player of the Week. All right, Special Teams Player of the Week. You heard him in our Win of the Week. Yes, it's going to be Austin McGinnis, the guy who was drinking Guinness on a street corner just a week ago. Yes, he was not on any team whatsoever, and they signed him off the street, so I'm assuming he was homeless. I don't know if that's what that means, but yeah, they said they signed him off the street, so. No, just joking. No, this guy kicked 4 of 4. Best kicking performance so far, taking it all into consideration that he was just signed. I mean, there's been some really good kicking performances by Folk, Young Hoku, even Nick Rose, but no, Austin McGinnis with 4 for 4. Cole off the streets of Memphis, you know. Good on Memphis though, taking in the homeless. Oh man. Oh, they're doing charity and winning games now. That's heartwarming and good to hear. No, Austin McGinnis, 4 for 4, 12 points, just had himself a game, and I hope that continues. Good job, Austin McGinnis. All right, next up, we've got the the highlight package of the week. You know what? I think I'm just gonna start doing that instead of just one play of the week. Maybe not when we get back into NFL weekly pick'ems, but I like the highlight package of the week because it's only 4 games, so there's, you know, a good 10 highlights you can grab from those and just put it to some music and have a nice time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed last week's highlight package of the week or whatever, but and I'm gonna post them individually as well, but enough of me explaining what I'm doing. Let's just do it. So here is SVTV's highlight package of the week.
Plenty of room for Joel Guanyo.
Somehow with another bad play, take a shot. We got a fly route, big boy fly route. That's unbelievable right there. That's a big time for the punt now, Brad Wing. Fielded and off to the races. Great job right there, coming up and catching the ball. The defensive back to the 10, inside the 5. Touchdown, San Diego.
Second and 8. Look out, Matt Sims. He got drilled. That ball is out. Fight for it. And it's Arizona's football. Never saw the blitz. Will Gain of 1. Radcliffe has some. Radcliffe goes airborne. Pitch out to the right side. Then a pass to the end zone. Touchdown, Sean.
Alright everybody, hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, hit that like button and tell me in the comments below if you like the highlights of the week segment and want to keep that instead of play of the week. Anyway, that being said, we've got how we did last week, and last week we went 1 of 4, 25%, which puts us at 44% on the season. That is 7 out of 16 games. Yeah, it didn't help that the first week we went 0-4. And then this past week we went 1-4. We did have a 4 out of 4 week though. Week 2. That was awesome. So there's that. That's really saving my ass right now, and hopefully we can do that again this week. But before we do, let's get into Buddy's Power Rankings, AAF Power Rankings. First off, we've got the Apollos at number 1. Yeah, they're undefeated. They're clear number 1. They're not getting beat, and that's big at staying number 1. Next up, we've got the Iron, who got their first loss this past week. The Apollos and the Iron actually face each other this week. That would have been awesome if they were both undefeated coming into this week. And that's kind of how I know the AAF isn't rigged, because if it was rigged, that would have probably been a story. But anyway, no, the Iron losing this past week. They don't drop, though. They don't drop because it's their first loss, and it was to the Commanders, who are a terrible team. Plus, guess what they didn't do? What we talked about all last week about them. They did not put in Williams. They kept their momentum with Woodside, what little they had of it, but they had some because they were able to win. Although it did help that Perez in that offense kind of sucked bad. But anyway, they didn't get rid of Woodside. They kept him in, and guess what? They won. So maybe there is something to that. Anyway, the Fleet at number 3. And you may be like, what? They lost to Memphis. Really? They lost to Memphis. Well, yeah, they did lose to Memphis. But, I mean, the Hot Shots dropped. The Commanders also went up. But I don't know. There's something about the Fleet if they don't have Alex Ross in there. Like, their offense is pretty damn good. Gardner, when he's not. They faced a really good defense in Memphis. I would venture to say the second best defense, if not the first. They're neck and neck with Birmingham, as evidenced by this past week with such a good performance out of Drew Jackson, Anthony Johnson. I mean, they're just a plethora of good defenders there on that team. And I'm not going to put that against the Fleet, not this week anyway. Maybe next week if they just get torn up, I definitely will reconsider this. But at the moment, I'm going to have to still put them at 3. That and the Fleet beat the Commanders, so, you know. And then the Commanders, and then the Hotshots, who are dropping a full 2 slots down. I have not liked what I've seen even with Wolford in last week, the week before that, they've been losing to bottom dwelling teams, and that's just, that's not good. So they're the biggest droppers. And then we've got the Express at 6, the Stallions at 7, and the Legends, even though they won, still bottom of the barrel. I still think they're the worst team. No offense, Atlanta fans out there, feel free to dog on me in the comments below. I know it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black, being that I like the Express. They only have 1 win as well, but I don't know. I think the Express are a little bit more complete. I mean, like I said, they got one of the best defenses, and now they have Mettenberger. I think that offense changes a little bit for the better. But that being said, hey, Aaron Murray, that could add a definite spark to that Legends team, and they could be, you know, coming up the ranks here in the next few weeks if they keep winning. So that is possibly good news for you guys. Anyway, let's see how this could possibly change in the next week as we pick them. So let's get into it. All right, first game of week 5 is going to be Orlando versus Birmingham. Oh man, actually that should have been a night game. That should have been like at least a game 2 or a game 4, you know, like a night game on Saturday or Sunday. But anyway, first game, we have Orlando versus Birmingham. Orlando, the most complete team by far. Offense looks great. Then on defense, you got the likes of Terrence Garvin and Darius Gunner. It's just, it's good. It's a good one. And then on Birmingham, I mean, their offense is pretty stagnant. Their receivers can't catch a ball to save Perez's life. Perez, he's not looking near as good as he did in week 1. Trent Richardson, you know, I mean, he's good at getting touchdowns, which is a great thing, but yardage isn't his thing. Vision seems to still be a problem. Can't get a first down, and that does not help. That does not help. And then if you're not getting to the red zone, you're not getting Trent Richardson to get those touchdowns. So you have to get there in the first place. He's not helping himself there. Perez and those wide receivers don't seem to be either, but their defense is really good. So can that defense stop Orlando? I don't think so. I think Orlando does win. I don't see, Orlando's faced tough defenses these past 2 weeks. Memphis and then Salt Lake City, and they've been able to get past them. Gilbert and Johnson have been able to get, that's Charles Johnson and Dearness Johnson. Anyway, they've been able to get past those defenses, and I think they do it here with a score of 27-12 over Birmingham. Again, I don't think Birmingham's defense can do a whole lot against this Orlando Apollos team. I mean, of course they'll have some effect, but I don't think it'll be too bad. I think Orlando can get past any problems that they may have with a trick play, which I love that Steve Spurrier's bringing a little flair, a little something to the AAF, doing a trick play every now and again. I like it. I like it, Spurrier. Keep it up, and I think you win this one. All right, game 2 is going to be Salt Lake versus San Diego, which this actually should be a pretty interesting game and a good indicator on how these teams are gonna do in the following weeks and for the rest of the season, because they're both at like a crossroads almost. I mean, you got San Diego having a really good game, coming off a really good game, and then getting upset in the second half by a so-so Memphis team. And then Salt Lake City, they look terrible, and then all of a sudden, they're good. They beat one of the best teams, the Hotshots. They got their quarterback back, and I was even doing this. I really thought Woodrum was going to add that spark, turn that team around. And then the Apollos were like, boy, that's a no from us, dog. And totally just shut them down. This should be a really good game, although there is one thing that might change this game, and that is that Philip Nelson is going to be out, I think, 4 to 6 weeks with a broken clavicle or something like that, or a fractured I don't think it's totally, but a fracture in his clavicle. We're saying 4 to 6 weeks. And instead of Alex Ross, it's going to be Mike Bercovici, who you did see week 1.
Bercovici never saw the man coming,
get his lights knocked out, but he's going to be back, and he's going to be the starter. Salt Lake still has Josh Woodrum, and yeah, that's why I think Salt Lake's going to win. I do think Salt Lake is going to win. I think they are going to win 22-16 over San Diego. So it's going to be a nice competitive game, but I think Carter Schultz and that defensive front of Salt Lake can get to Berkovici. That San Diego line's not fantastic, and I think also they're probably their best remaining part of their offense, which would be their run game. Jaquan Gardner's, really good. Even though he got stopped up last week, he's still pretty good. He's one of the league leaders in rushing yards, top 3, I believe. I think that defensive front of Salt Lake can handle that. They don't have to travel far either. I think Salt Lake does win this one. All right, game 3 is going to be Memphis versus Atlanta, which actually should be a pretty good game as well. We get to see 2 of the bottom dwellers, almost a toilet bowl. I don't think, if it was Salt Lake versus Atlanta, but pretty much still. I don't want to admit my team's bad. Anyway, no. Memphis versus Atlanta. This should be a good game. The game of the dueling quote-unquote backup quarterbacks, I guess. I'd consider Mettenberger a solid starter now. And then Murray can solidify his starting position with a good game against Memphis. So this should be a damn good game. I do think Memphis's defense is better. Therefore, I do think Atlanta's offense is going to have a tough time. Even with Murray in there, I do think Memphis wins 20-6. I think McGinnis has himself another good game, field goal wise, maybe 3 of 3, and then Mettenberger on that offense gets the other 11 points or whatever. But yeah, Young Hoku also has himself a good game with 2 kicks, or Murray might run one in and they just don't get the 2-point conversion. I don't know how it play out, but I do know that this is probably going to be a pretty good game, even though its teams were like, Anyway, no, Memphis does win. All right, last game of the week, we've got San Antonio versus Arizona. Arizona's been, god-awful these past couple of weeks. They just not looking like the team that started out the year at number 1 in the power rankings on betting sites and the like. San Antonio also not fully looking like the team we first saw in week 1 win against San Diego. I do hope San Antonio continues with keeping one quarterback in the game like they did this past week. I think they might have learned their lesson. Do hope they did, because they won. I mean, come on. Against Birmingham, no less. And that's another point. Arizona's defense, they're all right. Definitely no Birmingham. And I do think San Antonio can take advantage of that. And I do think San Antonio does win 23-20. I think it's going to be a close game. I think Arizona maybe catches a little momentum that they had in the beginning of the season, but I don't think it's going to be enough to do anything with it. I do think San Antonio wins. And, whether it's Woodside to start for the full game, or they gave Woodside his game last week, now they're going to give Williams his game this week. Be whatever it is, I do think they still win either way. I think Farrow can have himself a good day against this Arizona Hotshots defense. And also, I think Greg Ward has himself a game. I don't know why I think that, but look out for that as well. All right, everybody, that is going to do it for us here today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We're trying to grow here on SVTV, and we can't do it unless you hit that subscribe button, or so I'm told. But anyway, no, appreciate all your support here on this channel. Glad you're with us here today, and I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, and you wanted to tell me about it, hit me up in the comment section down below. Tell me your thoughts, any bold predictions you have. I would love to hear any scores you predict, who your win and loss of the week is, who your players of the week are, anything like that. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below, so feel free to hit me up down there. With that being said, I'm Buddy Strange. This is StrangeVoodooTV. Keep it strange, people. I'll see you in the next one, which might be a highlight video on Sunday or a gaming video on Monday or Tuesday. Probably Tuesdays. Thank you for your time. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.